Second Son, a game released for the PlayStation 4 pretty early in its life cycle. One of the first games, if not the first game I played, at least to completion on the console. If you remember, the launch lineup for PS4 was pretty abysmal. This was one of the early games post-launch, if I remember correctly, and I was never into inFAMOUS, to be honest. I never really played the earlier games, but Second Son, man, it like grabbed me, and I just gave it a chance, and Jesus Christ, this game is so much fun. I mean, beyond the story, beyond anything else, just the core gameplay is a blast. If you've never played an inFAMOUS game, I cannot recommend Second Son more, because it is such a great starting point. It doesn't really rely on the earlier game's story. Now, you can go back like I did afterwards, and I played through the first inFAMOUS, and it was good. I like the original inFAMOUS. I've yet to go back to 2 or Festival of Blood, if that's even still available. But as far as Second Son goes, as a standalone game, it's great. I mean, that's the simple way of describing it. There are some things here and there that, you know, don't age well. But as far as a game on its own, I really like it. And coming back to this game so many years later, I mean, I think it's been 8 years since the game was released and I last played it. And man, it does hold up quite a bit. Visually, it's still, you know, just as stunning as it was when I first played it. You know, the character models are probably the worst aspect of aging as far as visuals. But like the world, the environment, it all looks great. The idea behind this game being that, you know, it does tell a story. You play as Delson, and you know, the story is fine. I'm not here to boast about how great the story is. The whole idea of inFAMOUS, if you've never played them or heard of them, is that you basically get to choose your path. You can either be good and make good choices, generally speaking, do the right thing, don't kill people and shit like that. Or you can be infamous. You can be bad and you can do bad shit and kill people and not give a fuck. And that's kind of the whole gist of the games in a nutshell. Now, what is the right choice? I mean, obviously, you know, if you have any sort of heart or soul, you would say good is the right choice. And my original playthrough, I did play a good character. And this time I decided to go the bad, evil route. And my takeaway is the evil route sucks. Like, the best part of being evil, honestly, is the fact that you can just wreck shit and not care. But honestly, like, even that, I never felt like it was worth it. It was just like, so many decisions you make are so obviously wrong. You know, it's like, there are some moral dilemmas. I really think the first choice in the game, which is basically asking like, oh, you're in trouble. Do you turn yourself in, or do you basically, you know, turn the rest of the village in? And it's like, so of course you turn yourself in. I mean, that is the right thing to do, right? But then again, it's like, I mean, if you were in that position, do you really think you could do it? It's like, that's one of the only times in the game where I was like, this is somewhat of a moral dilemma. Although obvious, you know, what the right choice would be. The rest of the game is like, do you kill or do you not? And it's like, well, I mean, normally, yeah, like most, I would say 99.99999% of the time, you're going to not kill someone. It would have to be a hell of a situation to kill them. I mean, I get it. If it's for revenge, then it's obviously, it's a tough choice, right? Morally, it's a tough choice. Legally, obviously, it's an obvious choice. You would never do it. But that's kind of the whole crux of the game, right? Is making that choice, making those decisions. The thing I have a problem with is at the end of the day, the game is not that good story-wise if you're just doing evil shit all the time, which I guess is the lesson. But why make a game where you can choose a path if the bad path just fucking sucks? The other thing I want to talk about is the 100% completion aspect of this game. The thing is, this game is not a collectathon, but each area of the game is kind of broken up into parts, and in each of those parts, they're controlled by the enemies. You can go in and destroy the enemies, and it brings down the overall percentage, but you still have things like hidden cameras. You can spray graffiti on the wall. You can, I mean, there's a ton of different things you can do. All of those, unbelievably fun, like 100% the most rewarding part of the game. I absolutely love doing that stuff, and I don't think I could ever play this game and not do all that stuff. I feel like that's such an important aspect of what makes the game fun. And I think at the end of the day, that kind of takes the cake for what I feel about this game. Like, I could do without the story. I could kind of don't really care about the characters, but the gameplay, the core gameplay, is a lot of fun. I also want to mention I did play the prequel game, First Light, which is a DLC, but it's like standalone DLC. You don't have to have Second Son. It basically tells the backstory of one of the characters you meet in the game, Fetch, and I think her story is actually probably better than the entirety of Second Son, if I'm being perfectly honest. But at the end of the day, it's not a necessary thing. It doesn't really do much for the story other than just explain more about who she is. It doesn't have any impact on the actual game of Second Son or how it plays out. Everything in that game takes place before Second Son, so it just gives more information. And you start with Fetch's abilities, which are already better than what Delson gets. In the end, I don't really know what else to say about this game except that I do like it. It feels like it drags a little bit story-wise. It's definitely not a long game, even when you 100%. I mean, I beat it pretty quickly. But I do think if you don't know what you're doing or you're not good at those kind of games, I could understand why it would be a little difficult. But in the end, I definitely recommend it. It's one of the best PS4 exclusives. And yeah, huge Infamous Second Son fan. Highly recommend. Would like to touch the hiney.